this class is, what is it, 12 days? You know, this is ridiculous. Who takes a class like this, right? You know, I mean, you're fitting an entire semester in 12 days. And then I've already had people that said, hey, I'm not going to be able to make the first class. If you guys want to see something crazy, this is TikTok crazy. My head just explodes. It's weird. It's just a bizarre thing. So if you cannot make a class, then you got to drop right now. Go ahead and unplug, disconnect, take another class, another semester where you can make it. But this is an intense class. There's a lot of work. I usually apologize to my students for the work because this is art appreciation, right? It's an elective and nobody wants to take art appreciation and nobody cares about electives. Maybe one or two of you do, and thank you. But nothing. If you don't attend, it's a 0. And so that's just, it's an intense thing and you guys are signing up for this. So that's apologies out of the way and explanation of my attitude. And once again, I do apologize. So this shouldn't take more than an hour unless I just go off on some kind of stupid rant. I'll try to keep it relatively short. I'm going to go through what the expectations are for the course, kind of explain it to you. If you have any questions at all, just unmute and ask. Please ask your questions because if you have that question, everyone else in the class has the same question. And my preference is to address any issues that you have face-to-face or in class as opposed to via email, you know. And then that's the other thing that I do. And I don't know how you guys find, I guess in class we'll make sure and get where you guys exchange contact information. But a lot of times if you need something explained or clarified or whatever, I prefer you ask each other. Now, I say that for a number of reasons. One, because I'll cover it in class. If I don't, please ask and I'll make sure and cover it. The other thing is I have this class set up like it's an online class. And I've done that for a number of reasons. One, because I teach online appreciation. And two, the way things have been the past couple of semesters, it just makes it easier to have everything available to you online so you can take care of business and whether you show up to class or not. Now, the reason roll is important is because Collin College wants this actually is an in-person class, but we're using the AB format because of the COVID right now. And so we've got the class split in 2. And so you only have to attend every other day. But on those days, you're expected to attend. And if you do get COVID or you get sick or whatever, and that's the reason you're missing, you need to contact the college and go through them. Don't go through me. They'll instruct me what to do. But once again, this is such a short class. I would guess if you get some kind of symptom where you can't attend or whatever, you'll probably just need to drop the class because by the time you're well, the class will be over. All right, so let me just run through these things. Like I said, if you have questions, but check and make sure. I think I'll cover everything before, but please feel free to, I know I don't make sense most of the time. So this class is Monday through Friday, 9 to 12:55. I will rarely, and you could almost insert never, go to 12:55. I usually can get everything I need said in an hour and a half on the long side. And like I said, I've put everything online. Even my lectures are online and there should be links to those. So quite honestly, if you want to finish the course today, it's all there available to you, including the final exam. So you can do that at your own pace. Now that's a little bit misleading because when I say your own pace, you could finish everything today, but I do have deadlines if you decide that you don't want to finish everything today or tomorrow, whenever. And the deadlines are hard and fast. I usually am not that much of a stickler on deadlines. But once again, with this being an accelerated course, if you start missing deadlines, then that just means the last day of class, I'm grading everybody's, 20 assignments, and I just don't want to do that. So nothing is accepted after the deadline. The deadlines are included in the syllabus. There's also in the announcement, there's a course list, which has deadlines, the due dates. Due dates mean the end of that day, so 11:59 p.m. that day. And so it's very important. Let me go back to the AB format real quickly. One thing I do, because Collin College wants you guys to attend, you literally get a grade for whether you attend or not. Chantel, you still with us? I hope Chantel? All right, so you can unmute to if you want to talk, Chantel. Just check in and make sure you're still with us. So on days that you're supposed to attend, if you're not there, you'll get a 0. And that 0 is equal to an assignment, to homework, to writing something, anything. And that I just do that because they want you to be there. So if I'm going to be there and they want you to be there, then I try to figure out the best way to incentivize you. And that seems to work the best. I have you guys broken up into your A-B groups. I updated it this morning, so it should be current. 12 people A, 12 people B. It's listed in the announcement. I don't have it. I took it out of the syllabus because evidently I can't place students' names in a syllabus, but it is in the announcement. So go and check that. And let me just say an aside that I just transfer the course forward from semester to semester. So is what happens. That's part of the reason. Like at one point, I thought I would facilitate where I just make that day's assignments visible to you. But it was like, why? You know, I mean, as long as you know what needs to be done and you have the deadlines, then why not just have everything available to you? And so announcements, scroll through there. Sometimes you might be looking for something and it might be in an announcement 3, 4, 6 announcements down. So that is one of your resources, the announcements. I have links like to the workbook. As I said, there's a syllabus, the schedule of classes and work due, all the stuff's in there. So check announcements. I don't know if you guys are comfortable with the online and Canvas doing a class this way. You probably at this point you are, but I just want to point out a couple things. If you want to know all the work that's due for the class, check the gradebook. That's the best place to go to the gradebook and see what's due in there. And that's everything in the gradebook. That's what's going to be due for this course. Modules is another place. I have everything listed. I have it by the week, and there should be links in there. So check modules. This is in the left-hand column of your Canvas. Assignments, there's a little tab that says assignments. If you want to check what are assignments, all right, they're all listed there. And then also quizzes is in the left-hand column, and even the syllabus tab is in the left-hand column. There's a resource that I created years ago. It's a workbook that I created for this class. And there's a link to it in the announcements. And it's just a PDF, and it's free. And it's just something like it has my lectures. It has a lot of the exercises are written out, but it's something that I would I would utilize it. Matter of fact, I reference it in some things. So for instance, like the personal logo, which is assignment due tomorrow, there's samples of that in that workbook. So the workbook's very important. And that leads me to the textbook. Now, somebody emailed me before this semester started about the textbook. And part of the reason I couldn't answer them definitively is because of what I'm about ready to say. Once again, the college highly recommends that you guys have an art textbook. This has always annoyed me because textbooks are expensive and I don't use them completely. I don't teach completely from the textbook. So it just seems like a waste of money because they cost so much money and you use it so little. So I've always made it where I'll tell you what's recommended, what's highly suggested, and that's in your syllabus, the gateways to art. Um, and if you want to get it, absolutely get it. It will help you. It's a great book. I like it. But if you're the type person that doesn't get the textbook, or you can find other alternatives, that's outstanding. Matter of fact, even when I used to require students to get a textbook, I would tell them that any addition will work. They're all exactly the same. Matter of fact, I don't even know what changes in textbooks. They're so flipping out of date often that, and if we're studying someone 200 years ago, then that's fine. Any textbook will work. So if you have a roommate's textbook, I used to bring in a picture of a textbook sold on Amazon that you could get for 2 cents. It's like any textbook will give you what you need. So that's the other thing. Now, I think in some lectures, once again, I pull my lectures forward. So there might be lectures from, a couple years ago that you'll view if you do view a lecture online. And I will reference a textbook in that. I believe the textbook I'm referencing is the one that's listed in the syllabus. So if you want to make sure that you want those to sync up. But here's the deal. It doesn't really impact you. It's just based on the type of person you are. If you follow textbook closely and you want that and you want the link, that's there. If you're just going to make it happen and get through this and you don't need a textbook, awesome. Now, part of the reason that I say that I don't require textbooks is because we've got this really amazing thing that's awesome for research, and it's called the internet. And if you use the internet appropriately, like Wikipedia is an amazing resource, then it's better than any textbook you could ever buy. Now, the problem is you have to, when you use the internet as a resource, especially as a research resource, you have to go to 2, 3, 5 different sites to verify the information. And if that information is in all 5 sites, you can trust it. If it's on one and different on another and different on another and then kind of the same on another, it's, you should be dubious whether that's legitimate information. So it just takes a little more work, and it's hard to know what you don't know. And that's part of the reason that the internet is not usually promoted by instructors, because we figure you guys don't know anything. So I don't know if we're right or wrong. So with all that said, textbook, if you want it, it's good. If you don't want it, you'll be able to get through the course. The workbook that I provide is valuable. It has all the information that I say in my lectures. So it's right there. You can read it there. Even the final exam, I believe, is in the workbook. So everything's there. It's a good resource to have. Now, I have added something that I used to have classes do they'd write a paper. And this was a research paper that justified having the textbook. What I've done this semester is I've put those to quizzes. So now the writing assignments are really quizzes, but there's a lot of writing. And one of the things that you'll find in there is that I ask that with your answer that you use at least 150 words. This is an arbitrary number. It's not anything special about it. The fact is, it just forces you to think a little bit and not just put blah, 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 or yeah, that's awesome, or that's great. And I put that often where I'm asking you to use 150 words because what I really grade on in my classes is just you thinking. And if I see you thinking at all, considering something, just giving any kind of critical thinking, then you'll get the grade. That's just participation. And if you don't give me that, then I'll grade accordingly. So the 150 words is just asking you to consider whatever, whether it's a post, whether it's a comment to one of your fellow classmates, or it's the writing assignment quiz. So you'll find those if you have questions. And I'll encourage you. So we're going to be seeing each other every other day for the next 2 weeks. And if you have questions, make sure to come to class with questions, because that's going to be the most valuable thing of us meeting, is that I'll be able to clarify all the stuff that doesn't make sense. Let me pause for a minute. Does anyone have a question, anything that I can clarify or expand on?
I have a question. Well, not really a question, but I joined like 2 to 3 minutes late, and I just wanted to make sure I didn't get skipped on roll.
Great. Well, thank you for doing that. I got you down, Jenna.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Did anyone else come in that I might have missed?
I think I might have come a little late. So,
Let's see. No, sir. I have you.
oh, okay.
I'll just check. Angeline, Yao, Holly, and Augustina. Okay. And I wasn't looking, so if you raised your hand, I didn't get it. So if I just called your name, holler out and let me know you're here. Anything else that that you're thinking before I keep going? Okay. All right, and just shout out if something comes up. Communication. In the syllabus, you have my email and you have my personal email. Anything that has to do with grades or official business of the college, please do that through the Collin College email address. If you just have a quick question, matter of fact, you'll see sometimes I'll answer from my personal email address. And that's just for efficiency and speed. But if it's anything that needs the privacy of the Collin College address, then go through the Strent at collin.edu. Also, you'll find that I'll comment sometimes in the grade book, and sometimes I don't, sometimes I do. A lot of times my comment is just look at the directions if you want explanation of your grade. But if there's something that requires further explanation, I'll write it in the comments there. You can also communicate with me through those comments. Canvas has its own email or messaging, so you can communicate through that or email. I used to put my phone on there, and I didn't really care if you text until people started texting me dumb stuff and stupid questions. So then I took that off. And the college doesn't encourage us to put our phone numbers out there anyway, so I took them up on it. Oh, just in a comment, there's a couple exercises I have you guys do that where like I'll ask you to draw something. So for instance, one of my favorite activities is I have you draw the Mona Lisa. I don't do it because this is an art class. I don't care if you're an artist. I don't care if you're a good artist. It doesn't matter. Matter of fact, I mean, sometimes I'm really impressed how talented you guys are. And then some of you are, about at the same level I am. I can't even draw a stick figure. So this is not a studio class. Let me say this again, because sometimes I'll read like my critiques. People say, hey, you thought it was a studio class. It's like, it's not a studio class. You're not graded on your artistic ability. It's not a studio class. But by having you draw something, I'm engaging a different part of your brain. It also makes you look at things a little closer. So when I have you draw the Mona Lisa, I don't care if it's a stick figure, I don't care what it is, but I just want you to look at it critically and closely as if you were drawing it. So I know it's not a studio class and you're not graded that way. Matter of fact, I think you guys have this activity where I ask you to duplicate a classic work of art. And let me just say this, please hear this, because everyone loses this 15 points. The exercise has you duplicate, recreate a classic work of art, and then you submit that your drawing, your rendering next to the original. So they're side by side. A lot of times people just submit their rendering, their drawing, and then they don't put the classic piece next to it, and they lose 15 points for that. I want to see the two side by side. But once again, you're not graded on your artistic ability. If you just do your best at recreating it, then you get the points. So I really want you to know that. So also in the syllabus, and I think in the announcement, it has this listed that, so you have a total of 23 assignments in the next 12 days. 23 assignments. That's insane. Anyway, so good luck with that. I admire you guys. I used to taking summer classes. I don't ever think I took a 2-week class. It's a lot of work. plus your 5 assignment grades. So, sorry, attendance grades. So there's 5 opportunities to make 100 just by showing up. Today, for the people that showed up, you got 100. Good job. And so is what the way that you'll get your grade is you'll have a total of 28 grades that are worth 100 points. You just add those up and divide by 28, and that's how you get your grade. Now, I tell you this because if you look in the grade book, and I can't get rid of these columns, it doesn't allow me, but there's like a total percentage and there's a total average and there's, I don't know what those are. And that is not that doesn't reflect your grade in the class. Those are quantifying something else that I don't know what it is. And I don't feel like taking the time to try to figure it out. So towards the end of the semester, I put a column in there that says final grade, and I'll add it up for you and tell you what it is. But if you ever want to check in and see what your grade is, just add up all the work that you've submitted that's due, and then divide by that number. And that's how you get your grade for this class. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah, okay. Okay, perfect. So I think that is as far as me just telling you how the class is set up. Before I move on, let me know, is there any questions, anything that I didn't cover that's not clear as far as what to expect for the class? You guys all good? All good? Thumbs up? Yep, thank you. Thank you. So, Augie. Who's Augie? Oh, is that Augustine? No. Who's Augie?
Can
Hello?
you hear me? Yeah.
Who are you?
It's Augustina Rodriguez. I go by Augie.
You know, my son's name is Augie. That's the reason that caught my eye.
Yeah, it's a nickname. I didn't get your email, so I showed up to class.
Okay. All right. So, Augie, is what I need you to do is you can come talk to me after class on your day that you're supposed to attend, or you can contact someone in class to find out what I've just spent the past 30 minutes talking about. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And would you turn on your, there you are. Got it. All right. Perfect. Okay. All right, so I want to just kind of cover the first couple of assignments that you have in the next 2 days. And then I'll be done. So if I were you, I would pay a little more attention just because this will help you with the upcoming assignments. I feel like usually I give you guys all the information you need in the directions, that kind of stuff, but I realize once again that I can be unclear and it might not make sense. So make sure you know these things. So first today, and once again, I'm sorry, it blows me away how accelerated this class is, but so like you have work due today. So that's just the way it is. And once again, I won't expect you guys to work in class. I have no desire to sit and watch you do your work. So we'll come in, we'll talk, I'll lecture, and then you guys will leave and work on your own time for that day. And that's kind of how today's set up. I mean, we're scheduled to meet till 12:55 and we will not be here past 10. So just to let you know. All right, so today you have 2 things. As a matter of fact, the first thing is self-portrait. And so is what you want to do is go and find a classic work of art. And this is where I would send you directly to that workbook. And I have in there listed classic artists and classic works of art. And so if it's a classic artist, anything they create is a classic work of art. And if it's a classic work of art and I haven't listed that artist, then they would be a classic artist. What I mean by classic artist in this case is that it's art or an artist that's worth our attention. And how do we know that? We know that because scholars, academics, critics, people who write textbooks have said this person is worth your attention. And they've studied this person. They've studied their body of work. their influence on society, the whole deal. And so they say these are people that are influential and have shaped the conversations that we're having and the art that we see today. And so it's worth you looking at. Now, let's say your mom is an awesome artist and you want to use her artwork. That's fine, but unless she's been vetted and that she's been identified as someone that's worth our time and our attention, then you can't use your mom's artwork. And I know none of you are at that level, so I don't want to see your artwork either. Not that I don't want to see your artwork, but I don't want you to use it as a classic work of art. And just to expand on that a little bit, so can a classic work of art be something that was created yesterday? What's the general idea? Yes, no? If you think yes, give me a thumbs up. Could a classic work of art be something created yesterday? All right, either you're not listening. Okay. Can a classic work of art be created yesterday? No. Okay. And as my son's class would go, if you're not sure, I think you can do this thing. Okay. Well, let me give you a great example of a classic work of art that was created the day before and instantly became a classic work of art. Michael Jackson's Thriller. When that video came out, it was instantly a classic. And here's the reason why. Is because Michael Jackson, the singer, pop singer, had a body of work that already the scholars, academics, critics, experts had already recognized. Like, this person is changing the way music is created and performed. And he's innovative and he's talented and he's using techniques that are unique. And so he already had a body of work that had identified who he was. And then as soon as he created this next piece, people instantly like, yes, this just changed things. This just did something different. This just created a work that is at a higher level that we need to be aware of. And so he's one example of someone who instantly could create a classic work of art. Now, painters can do that, sculptors can do that, installation artists, performance artists, all that, they can do that. But a lot of times it's your body of work and it's people that are already, you're on their radar. They're already studying you. They're already looking at you. They already recognize you as a classic artist. And that's the way that a classic work of art could be created yesterday and be identified today as classic. A lot of times we think of like cars. I think it's 25 years before a car can become a classic. You know, there's certain arbitrary numbers that we put on that identification. In this particular case, all we use is whether the scholars, academics say this is someone we should be aware of. So go and find a classic work of art. Once again, if you're not sure, you can go to the workbook and get that list. Another way you should kind of get an idea that your work is not classic or for this class, if you can't find the title, if you can't find the artist, if you can't find the year it was completed or the medium or any information about it, then it probably hasn't been vetted. It hasn't been studied and researched to identify as a classic work of art. All right, so you go and find a classic work of art that represents you and write a short statement how it represents you. For my literal friends out there, it doesn't have to be something that looks like you. I'm talking about metaphorically, it represents you. Maybe it's something you resonate. There's no right or wrong answer here. Just go out and think, look at art and find something like, yeah, this, if someone looked at this, this is how this represents who I am, how I feel, how I show up in the world. So that's the self-portrait. Now, the other thing, I throw you guys straight into it today. You have your first paper or writing quiz, and it's to address what is art. And so sometimes on these writing quizzes, I ask you to address a question or a topic, or sometimes I ask you to just define a subject. So for instance, there's a sculpture writing quiz. So you would define sculpture and give examples of that. And so in this case, it's what is art? So two things that you need to do here. First, I'm going to give you a quick introduction, what is art? But also I want you to go out and research. what is art. I don't want your opinion. This is a research paper. And whenever you do any kind of scholarly work, your opinion it has nothing to do with that paper. Please understand that. If you ever, and I'm talking beyond this class, if you ever write a scholarly paper, your opinion is not invited in that paper. Your job is to go out and find what the experts say, what other scholars and academics say, and report that back and reflect that back. And you might put it in your own words, but it's not your opinion that we're looking for here. So, so what is art? I know all of you have an opinion what art is, and let's see. Yeah, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Hello.
Okay. Hello. Can you turn on your camera, please, and mute your microphone?
Okay.
Okay. See you. Thank you, sir. So, so you're going to go out and research and see what other people say is art. Now, I don't ask you to cite your sources. I usually can read what you write and know that it's you talking. But if you can, but anyway, so I don't ask you to cite your sources, but I do expect your information to be scholarly. I expect it to be informed and intelligent. So that's the criteria there. Now, on this first quiz, you're going to go out and research on your own, but also I want you to reflect what I'm about ready to tell you. Okay. And I actually think I have this lecture online. So if you fall asleep at some point or get bored listening to me, you actually can go back and find it. And I think I have a link to me talking about this. And I'll end up saying exactly the same thing because I've been saying this now for the past 9 years and it doesn't seem to change. So first thing is this. Let's see. Is this art? Please unmute and answer for me. Art. Is it art? Jenna, you going to say something?
I don't think it's art.
Why not?
I don't know. I think it's like a utensil.
Okay. So because, go ahead.
I don't know. It could be art. I just don't think so.
No, that's fine. Thank you. And let me tell you guys, look, I will ask you questions that might seem dumb or seem obvious a lot of times just to get you to talk. Like any instructor's biggest challenge is get the class to communicate and talk. So just talk to me and tell me what's going on and what you're thinking, and then we can go from there. And great, if you're wrong or not wrong, or some things are opinion and some things aren't. So Jenna, thank you very much. So one person says this is not art. Does anyone else disagree? They have a different opinion. Is this art?
I mean, I guess if you agree with art or beauty's in the eye of the beholder, I have a really good friend of mine who can't see. So I bet if she were able to see a highlighter, she might consider that art.
Okay, great. Thank you, Augie. So this right now is not art. And the reason it's not art is because it's a highlighter, it's a marker. And it's yellow, and it was created with a purpose to be a product, to mark on things and to be sold as a product. So it was created with a purpose, and it was designed, and there's a distinction between art and design. So in this particular case, like for instance, there's features of it that are design and artistic, but once again, that doesn't make it art. Now, I will tell you this, and it's hard to do it here, but okay. So now it is art. What changed? I'll need 3 responses. Why all of a
I
sudden it's
guess
art?
like the way you're presenting it might have changed.
Okay, absolutely. 2 other ideas. Why it is now art.
Is it the perspective from dimension that we're seeing it?
Could be. Thank you, sir. Think someone was going to say something. Grace, were you going to say something?
But that's like what everyone else said. So
Okay. All right. Thank you. One more person. Why do I think all of a sudden this is art? Joshua. Why is this art?
I'm not very sure.
Why do you think? Think for me. I don't care what your answer is. I just want you to consider why this would be art, where before it was a marker and now I'm telling you it's art. Why do you think that would be the case?
I would say the way you're holding it.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so here's the definition that is you'll want to capture in your assignment today. The definition for art is anything that's created with intention by an artist is art. Anything that's created with intention is art. Anything that's created with intention by an artist is art. Now, first you might ask, well, who's an artist? Well, the beauty of it is anybody can be an artist. You might be an artist, you might not want to be an artist, it doesn't matter. If you say, I'm an artist, you are an artist, period. Nobody can question you. They can't argue with you. They can't take anything away from you. They can't actually, and they rarely give you anything for being an artist. But if you claim to be an artist, then you are. Now, what complicates that, is people start thinking, well, are they a good artist? And what do they do? And I want to judge them and I want to see if I like what they do. And if they are, should be calling themselves an artist. That has nothing to do with what I just said. If you decide that you're an artist, you're an artist. Now, if I create something with intention for it to be art and I'm an artist, then it is art. And once again, I'll tell you, it's the same thing. You can't question that either. Whether it's art or not has zero. And Augie, this would go to kind of where you were talking from. Whether you like something, personally even understand it, has nothing to do with whether it's art. So that's where you go to the statement like people always say, anything can be art or it's in the eye of the beholder. Well, that's your preference. If you like it, if you want it, if you want to hang it on your wall, if you want to buy it, that all has to do with that. But if I create something and none of you like it, none of you get it, and you think it's ridiculous, and I say it's art, it's still art. And that's actually what I enjoy about this class, is because we talk about things that are just downright dumb. They're just dumb. Like, really, that's art? Here, let me see if I can think of an example. Has anybody heard about the banana that was duct taped to the wall and sold? I believe it was sold for 120,000, something around there. Anybody hear about that?
Yeah.
A couple years ago at a prestigious art show, the banana was in the gallery and the artist just took a piece of duct tape and taped it to the wall and said it's art. And someone paid him over $100,000 for it. Augie's shaking her head. See, here's the deal. The other part of this class is this. Don't look at art on whether you like it. As a matter of fact, don't even look at art whether you get it. Look at art by understanding what the intention behind it was, and then you will have an appreciation for it. So I bet you $1 I can make you see the value. Go ahead.
So a question. So what will happen if somebody has a different attention? Like, for example, I create this thing to maybe lift something, and everybody start to say like, oh, this look like an art. In that case, is it still considered art?
Well, they're commenting on your design, and they're commenting that they have an appreciation for your designs and aesthetic sensibility. But if you designed it to create something first, I mean, as with a function, first, it's not fine art, because the definition of fine art is it has no purpose or function. It would be a craft if it did, or it'd be a design tool or something. But they're not commenting on whether it's art. They're just commenting on that it's appealing to them. Now, yeah, perfect example what you're talking about is this is a work of art. It's not, but it's beautiful. It's an iPhone. And every part of it was designed with a aesthetic sensibility. Even the engineering in it has an aesthetic sensibility, but it's not art. It's a phone, because I use it I'm old. I use it to talk on. You guys use it for, all kinds of things. Did you guys know there's an app to actually respond text? Like my son has this thing, never mind, something where like they're keeping a streak going on so they can text, and the phone texts and tells the person that's texting them what it's doing. Has any of y'all done that? No. Anyway, I just found that out this morning. Because I know my son was asleep, but he's saying they're texting his friend. I'm like, how's that happening? All right, so yeah, it's a great question. Something can be beautiful, but still not be art. And something can be ugly and be art. That's where you distinguish what you're commenting on. Are you commenting on the beauty of it, or the aesthetic of it, or how it affects you? And actually, what I thought you were going to ask is, if you create something with intention, but people receive it differently, that's one of the complications and the beauty of art. Is like, it was really a tough lesson for me to learn, was when I created something, and then as soon as someone took it, it became theirs, and it no longer had anything to do with me. I'm like, yeah, but I created that. It's called, this is the title of it. This is what it is. They're like, nope, it's mine now, and here's what it is. Like, okay, there's nothing you can do. So when you put things as an artist, part of the process is putting your work out in the world, and then people will do whatever they want with it, and you have no control over that. Now, some artists are better than others at impacting and influencing others if you want to, but then there's some artists where they don't want to. Like, for instance, if you've ever seen a painting that's called Untitled, like that's the title, Untitled, that's because the artist doesn't want to tell you how to receive it or see it or think about it. That's not what they want to do. They want you to look at it, interact with that art on your own terms. And sometimes it's they've just run out of titles and they don't know what else to put. But going back to my point, this was designed as a product. It's not art. As soon as I create it with the intention for it to be art. So for instance, someone was pointing out that, like, okay, maybe the perspective or how I put it. Yes. So if I intentionally put it here, and to be a work of art, it is now a work of art. Now, is it a good work of art? No, it's been done before, right? There's nothing original about it, and nobody's going to pay me any money for it. So I'm going to tell you how we can have an appreciation for the banana. What if the intention of the artist that taped the banana to the wall was to show how crazy the art world is? What if they're saying, you know what, I could sell a banana for $100,000 if I call it art. Just watch me. How were they very successful? Yeah. And so there's different types of art. Sometimes there's advocacy art. Sometimes there's art where you're trying to make a point, or you're trying to show something, or you're exposing something, or sometimes you just want to create an ambiance. Sometimes you just want, Mark Rothko's an artist where he just uses color fields, just large colors, or he's no longer with us. And he just wanted you to stand in front of the art and experience it. And there's a thing called color theory where color actually affects us. And so he would use these colors and he would put them next to each other, knowing that they would have this tension there. And he wanted you to just stand there and feel his paintings. And he always painted in large scale. So it's the full size of the wall, 14 feet tall, 10 feet wide. And that's what he wanted to do. Matter of fact, in Houston, they call it a chapel where all his work's in there. And you go in and you just kind of experience this. So make sure whenever you judge art or you think about art, that you realize that you're adding your feelings, your emotions, your impressions, your opinions on it, and push that to the side, and then go and find out what the artist's intention was so that you can understand the art. And then, like, whether you want to buy it or not, that's a whole different discussion. All right, so a couple other things I'll say. What is art? The beauty of art is that it reflects who we are. It can reflect who we are as a society. It has the ability to convey messages that you can't put into words. It has ways art can take concepts that otherwise we can't imagine and make it where we can see it. It can take things that are hard to address and make it where it's more palatable and easier to understand or talk about. Tomorrow, you're going to do a thing called a personal logo. And is what this exercise is it's exploring how to communicate with images. And so I give you 3 different exercises so that you can show how visually, graphically, you can represent data, you can represent who you are. And matter of fact, there's samples of this in the workbook. So I ask you to make a model of yourself. And is what that is create something visually where I can just look at it and I know who you are. Logos that businesses use are examples of this. They represent brand, they represent an attitude, they represent success or not, and just in a simple graphic. And so that's where, the images and visual literacy is it's an actual literacy. So what you use to surf and navigate the internet is a visual literacy that I don't know if we really have a full appreciation for. And that's because there's so many ways that you can communicate and get information. And as we get more and more information, this visual literacy is very important because we can get much more data and information that way, as opposed to reading it in numbers. Last thing, and you guys are just reminding me of this, is and this is why we talk about art from an art period perspective, is art can reflect the zeitgeist of the time. And this is part of the reason that I ask you guys to be, have your cameras on. One, I don't want to just sit here and talk to a blank screen. I want to talk to people. And each and every one of you is giving me so much information. And what we have to do is filter and see what we want to, what information we want to use and what information we want to ignore. And so the zeitgeist is, the definition of zeitgeist is it's the feeling or tone or a common thinking of a group or a society, a large mass of people. So if I was going to describe the zeitgeist of this class, of the students, of the people that are in this class, I would say, bored and distracted and just staring straight ahead like I'm an idiot and like staring going, what is this guy talking about? And someone not listening to me. And, so you get, that's the first thing. What's the tone? But the next thing is, what are common ideas that you guys have? Now, I would say that Augie's probably not in her early 20s. And then I might say that, well, you might be, I don't know. And then I look at some of you other and I think, well, you're just straight out of high school. So you're going to have different, you're going to be in different places in life and have different experiences and different things, priorities, things that are important to you. And that's also where you can get the zeitgeist and the thinking of the group. And so if I'm just out of high school, I might have my first car. I might be thinking about getting my first apartment, first job, blah, blah. You're just in a different place. As you get as old as me, then, you know, it's like, I can't even remember what my first car was, you know, so I'm thinking about retirement. Those are the things I'm thinking about. And so we're like miles apart. So zeitgeist is Zeitgeist. And I think I put an extra I in there, but that'll get you started. Zeitgeist. But that's one of the things that's so amazing about art, that it can reflect that. It can reflect the mood, the emotion, the tone of a society. And that's also how we define art periods. All right, so last couple things and I'll be done. Gallery visits also due tomorrow. That's a totally online thing. I can't remember how it's set up in the assignment. It used to be a thing where we ask you to go and visit a gallery. You do not have to visit a gallery. You can do it all online. The one thing I ask from you is a selfie. So while you're at whatever digital gallery, MoMA, DMA, whatever, you just give us a selfie of you interacting with it. And I actually have a link to some sample students viewing art. And you answer the questions that go along with that. And then the visual element exercise will be assigned tomorrow, but it'll be due on Thursday. I'll talk a little bit about it, but this is something where you're going to research on your own. And you can look in the workbook for the list of visual elements that I'm going to ask you guys to consider. So I'm going to pause at that. Is there anyone have any questions, anything that I didn't cover that's confusing that I can clarify for you?
I have a question.
Yes.
When you mentioned the workbook, you're talking about the book that you create, right?
Yes.
Thank
You asked me if I created the workbook. Is that correct?
you. Yes, I think that you made this, that you provide the link that's free.
Yes. Yes, it's free and it's a link, and yes, it's I created it. Yes. It's just a PDF for, I mean, I have it as a book, but for you guys, it's just a PDF.
Okay.
Good
So-
question, by the way. Yes.
Yeah, can you do a resume of what you said so far? Like a brief resume of what you said so far?
No.
No. Okay.
You want me to summarize the past hour?
No, really, like I missed the part where you talk about assignment and stuff like that,
Uh-oh.
what we have to do.
Thank you. Is what I would encourage you to do is once you meet some of your fellow students, get their contact information and ask them. Also, I will try, this is recording, but I have never been able to save a Zoom for Collin. I don't know why, but I'll tell you what, I'll stay on and see if I can save this. And and anyone that came in late, I would encourage you to check with your fellow classmates and find out what I said. They're going to say they don't know and it wasn't interesting anyway, but you know, at least you can hear it from them instead of me. Let me check if Angeline, did Angeline make it? Holly, and I think that's everyone I have. Okay. Any other questions?
I don't know if this has been covered before, but you were gonna post the lecture recordings on the announcements. Is that where you're gonna post them?
There are a couple places. Some are in the announcements. And matter of fact, I think the What is Art link is in the announcements. But also if you look in the modules with each assignment, the links, like for instance, there's art period lectures that go along with the quiz, and they're in the modules or in those assignments. So the links are there to my videos. Are you seeing them in there as you're looking?
I'm looking at the modules right now.
Go to like the lecture.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see it now.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
thank you.
Yeah, good question. Hannah, were you going to say something?
My question was just answered. Thank you.
Oh, excellent. All right. Yeah, go in and the links should be like, whenever I give the instructions, I should have a link in there that supports it. But there's also, I've also have separate links for the different lectures that go with the quiz. I don't lecture on all the writing quiz. I So don't expect that all the time. Sometimes it just is based on your research. What else you guys have for me? You'll get the flow of the class as far as like how long we'll meet. I'm usually pushing on both ends of that. Like for instance, sometimes I'll let you guys out so quickly it'll annoy people. They're like, I drove all the way up here for this 15-minute class, and I don't know, I got nothing on that one. And then other times, because I had a 15-minute class, we stay for 45 minutes, and you're like, what's the deal? How come I have to stay here this long? I am not a big, I don't feel any obligation to stay there the full time. You guys have plenty of work and you get everything done that I've assigned for this course, and you are golden. And sitting in the class is not part of it for me. I don't feel like that's part of the learning process. I will lecture a little bit before each class, and hopefully you'll have questions that I can answer, but you know, it'll probably be very similar to today. If it goes over an hour, then I talk too much about my kids. That's all there is to that. Okay, anything else for me?
Hey, I know you mentioned we're what specific days we're going to be in class,
Yes.
just for work purposes.
Just for what?
For me, for work purposes.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, let me, let's see.
Because I am obviously not in my 20s.
Well, I was trying to think, yeah, all right, let's see. And by the way, I don't know if you guys saw it in the announcement, the AB assignments, it is in there. So tomorrow, Group A is meeting, and then Wednesday, Group B's meeting. Augie, are you going to be able to make Wednesday?
I can make any one. It doesn't matter.
Well, do me a favor, look on the announcements and look at the dates that are assigned and the groups. And then if you need to talk to me to work out something, I'm very flexible. As long as you make your 5 days that, I think it's 5 days that, you know, then I'm good.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, you're welcome. I'll work with you guys. You guys meet me halfway. I always work with you. It's just the people that tell me that